and welcome to another chill intro of the Project Get to Know podcast. My name is Emmanuel, and yes, you are seeing this correctly at a Friday episode this week. And since it is AAPI Heritage Month here in the United States, we're highlighting some of the wrestlers who are of that heritage for the month of May. And for the first one is someone that I've seen so much in New Texas shows, in United 210 shows, even in Borracho Pro shows, month in and month out. And that is Princy. And we talk about his wrestling background before we even delve into his heritage as a Cambodian-American and the stories that he shared, whether it's about his heritage or what his wrestling career is like, is probably one of the more cooler things about having guests like this to share their victories, their successes, their shortfalls, their imperfections, because that's who they are at the end of the day. And this will be every Friday on this podcast in the month of May. So there'll be more Asian American Pacific Islander wrestlers who are going to be highlighted this month. And you can follow Princy, and you can follow this podcast on the show notes below. And yeah, let's get this AAPI special started with Princy. We are on a different day of the Project Get to Know podcast, and being that it's in May, we have, this is going to be a long name for this month. It's the Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and I want to bring some of the guys who are Asian American or Pacific Islander, not only here in Texas but also in the United States. And we're starting off with Princy, because I've seen you so many times in so many shows. We never got a deep dive. We're always like 5 minutes, see you later, walk around, and it's like, see you then. So you see how that goes. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So your shoot name was kind of cool, because like, what is that in English?
Sovindara is my shoot name, and there's a couple translations, but like the main translation is Golden Star.
Wow. Okay.
So I was kind of born to do this. I was named to do this.
Exactly. So of course, New Texas is your home. Yes. And what was it like working with a lot of the guys in the locker room and in the roster with New Texas?
Dude, everybody here is so hungry, and that's kind of what I was like missing. I was kind of getting to that point of complacency, and I've never liked that point for myself. So I was just kind of trying to figure out like where I go from here, because I was like maybe 1 or 2 years graduated from Lions Pride, and obviously it's a great foundation for me, but like I was just kind of sitting there and I was becoming complacent. And so I was like, man, I need a challenge. I need where people are trying to get like signed, and not saying those Lions Pride boys aren't, because a lot of great people have come out of Lions Pride, but like at the time, like the heavy focus was on the students, whereas like at New Texas, it was on the students, yes, but it was also like, hey, we're out here. Let's shoot for the stars. Let's go get there. And then like, I walked in, the production, the feel, I remember sitting down with Kiefer, JJ, and everybody. And instead of like, what do you want to do? It was like, okay, how do we get you to where you want to go? Like, how do we build off of you? And I was like, whoa, what? You want to build off me?
Yeah.
You don't want me
Nice.
to just come in and do what I need to do? They're like, no, we want you to succeed. How do we help you succeed? That was the biggest thing, and that's one of the reasons why I'll always fight for New Texas, because like it's not just me. They see like a lot of young talent or a lot of talent that goes unnoticed, and they're like, hey, come here, maybe 1 or 2 shows, and let's see if we can help you pop off.
What was your beginnings in New Texas? Where did you start off when you actually wanted to try things out in New Texas?
So my first ever match was against Dustin Nguyen, TCS. And, not to pull the curtain back or anything, but they say heel work is a little easier than face work. Dustin made it so easy for me to, I've always said with like other heel buddies that I have, anybody can get heat, but not a lot of people, anybody can garner heat. Not a lot of people can maintain heat.
Mm,
And just being paired off with Dustin, having a program with him in the early start to my career at New Texas really helped me like garner heat. Because there was a moment where like I remember I hit the curtain, and usually people say that adrenaline hits and
yeah.
the nerves go away. For me, I was like, dude, this is a new place. I don't know any of these people. I don't know how they're gonna react to me. And I was quiet the whole match. And
Mm.
you've seen me work. I'm never quiet. And so I
You
went out
start
there and I
off
was,
quiet. That's what it means. You start off quiet.
yeah, dude, I was quiet the whole 8 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, the whole 8 minutes. And then I get to the back, and JJ was like, "Hey, why don't you make any noise?" And I was like, "Man, I know. I was just nervous." And they ended up
Mm.
bringing me back. And then I got more comfortable, and just working Dustin and being so easy because it's so hard to hate Dustin. And then him being so established there, it made it so much easier to just despise me.
Because like as you started to like really hone your work as a heel, how much of the entire roster kind of pushed you and garner you to become like the most ruthless heel that you have over at New Texas?
I think it was more of like a competitive aspect
Okay.
because again, with the straight competition here, yes, we want to see each other like make it big time, but at the end of the day, we realize that there's only so many spots, and like
Mm.
at this point where I was coming in, Ode was becoming an absolute menace in all of Houston, Timor, all of the 8th day. Honestly, they were
Right.
just on a tear of Texas. Everywhere that they went, they were the most hated guys in the locker room. Then you had, who else did you have heel work wise at the time? You had Ronan, who, a lot of people give him guff because he's like the Santino Marella heel, but like he knows his role.
Mm.
He knows what he's supposed to do in and out of that ring on the microphone. And like it doesn't matter if it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, he's gonna do what he needs to do. And I was like, bro, like even guys who are, from a certain aspect you would think of as like, oh, like this guy is supposed to be a joke. I mean, I could say that all I want, but like
Right.
he's maintaining more heat than I am. So
Mm-hmm.
what am I doing wrong? And so I just, I pushed myself even harder, and then it helped so much that Kiefer and JJ were career heels, are career heels. So like they were able to like, spit game and be like, hey, like, anybody can do cheap heat. Anybody can come to Houston and be like, I love the Dallas Mavericks. Anybody can do that.
Right.
And then that's not what we want. And I was like, okay, because at the very beginning, I was so used to being just kind of like your cheap heel of like, okay, so we wrestled in College Station, so I came out with Longhorn shirts. It was very, yeah, it's
Oh
very
my
cheap.
god.
And I thought that was like the pinnacle of heel work. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is how you get heat, brother. And then I would watch these guys, and like, the way that they carried themselves, the way that they articulated their words and their promos. I was like, oh wow, this is real heat. And then obviously the dream team being, I live with the dream team, and then seeing them go from like, you know, pop star Danny and the young buck Casey Kareem to like Casey's one of the scariest dudes I've ever seen in the ring.
Oh,
And
oh
Danny's,
my. Yeah.
yeah, Danny's gotten to a point that like he doesn't have to rely on Casey to be the big man anymore. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you go back and watch, what was it? I think it was the Dream Team versus it was a 6 man. I can't remember, but
Mm-hmm.
Danny King did a lot of the offense, and he just looked like a different Danny. Like he didn't look like a pop star. He looked like an absolute feral, savage
Yeah.
man. And I was like, bro, like okay, like a guy who's supposed to be a pop star can bring that self out of him. Like I need to be doing stuff like that too. Like I need to be able to flip that switch.
How has consistency such a factor? Because of course you mentioned to create heat is one thing, but for you to maintain that, not just in one match, but like weeks, months of
Yeah.
doing in-ring work, how has consistency been such a factor in how you're working as a heel?
I think the main thing, consistency wise, is just not falling on the things that you know that works, like not
Hmm.
just using that as your crutch, realizing that that is a good foundation, but not being afraid to go out and build off of that. And then not being afraid to fail. Like if I go out and I try something and like it doesn't get anything, there's crickets, I know that that doesn't work. So I'll
Hmm.
go down a different avenue. You know, JJ says this all the time. There's forks in the road. Just because you went down one and it was a dead end doesn't mean you can't go back to the fork and go down the other one.
One thing too is working with Pac, and Pac has had so much experience already on his plate. He's worked different cities. He went to California at some point.
Mhm.
To have that as a foundation to where you're doing things and working with Toxic Tour, how did that really shape into how you're doing things in the ring?
Honestly, I owe a lot to Pac because he makes it so easy to not just backpack off of him, but also like when it's my time to like be the tag team guy, it's a lot easier because, like you said, he has that experience, and I'm able to go back and ask, and I'd be like, "Hey, does this make sense for me to do? Whether it be character work, maybe a combination that we want to try out." It's gotten so much easier, and I've been able to like really like talk to him on like again. Just going back to consistency, being able to like go through movements and, even like down to the entrance. I didn't realize how important just that aura of a professional wrestler is when they make their walk. And then just
Mm-hmm.
watching Pac, and I was like, kind of at the very beginning, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do my own thing. We don't have to be as in sync as all the other tag teams because like that's not
Right.
the whole vibe. And then just I would look back, and Pac was also doing his own thing, but with aura.
Yeah.
And I would look back and be like, oh, they're feeling a certain type of way when he
Mm-hmm.
moves, when he walks, the way he steps onto the ring, the way he steps into the ring, the way he stands in the center. And I was like, okay, I have to find my way to and capture this for me. I can't just take what he does and then make it mine. I have to make it my own.
Because I
And
sense
that's
there's a wavelength. Because there were some matches that I would watch with you and Pac. There's that wavelength where Pac is going one certain way, and you're kind of like in sync, but there's still a sense of individuality when you do your walks. I think when you guys were at the yard with the third show of the new season, I kind of sense like, oh, there's like Pac is doing one thing, and then there's you just coasting and moving along, but you still have that wavelength
yeah,
between you guys.
that's two different types of toxicity.
Yeah, because you guys had K-pop as an influence. Oftentimes, K-pop is big. That's the thing. How did you manage to make that into such a very dick move to have K-pop in your?
I think it goes back to the aura thing. K-pop has always been big with Pac,
Mhm.
and then we just recently changed it to like a Latin song.
Mhm.
But we could have very easily been like, let's be F boys and just pick
Yeah,
a song about making love to women, stealing girlfriends, this,
yeah.
and that, yada yada yada. We could have taken the easy route, but we picked a certain song. I'm not sure what the name is. I don't speak Spanish. I'm not that kind of brown. But the way that we came out to it, um, we just we just realized people were reacting like a certain way, like kind of the way that like people treat like strippers. Like they're
Mhm.
kind of intrigued,
I did
but
not hear
like
that, but I see your compare. I see
yeah,
where I can see that.
yeah, like they're intrigued. They don't know if they can touch them. They don't know if like they want to even be around that. And then we
Mhm.
just throw it in your face.
Ah, okay. It's like now that going out into the road, and of course, like a lot of these wrestlers are going out on the road. What was it like going to another city? And what's like a event in Texas that you had some sort of, I won't say culture shock, but like there the newness of going into a new city. Do you remember a show like that, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I think the biggest culture shock I've had thus far would probably be Borracho,
Okay.
just because you had all these established stars, and like not to like discredit anybody's name or anything like that, but like you had all these established stars. You had, you know, AAA stars, CMLL stars, Houston Lucha guys, or just Texas Lucha guys,
Right.
Texas shooters, literally a smorgasbord of so many different talents. And you walk in thinking like, oh, I'm the new meat.
Hmm.
And you're in the same category as somebody that you're like, oh, dude, you've been popping off for a minute now.
Right.
And again, it's not to like discredit them, but like Borracho does a very good job of like, hey, you know, these guys are gonna have the big moment matches. Everybody else, like we just need to help the show, you know, move the right way, which I mean, it's how any show should go.
Right.
You should leave your ego at the door, which is hilarious for professional wrestlers.
It's like I
But
gotta do my part. That's what it means.
exactly. Yeah, you just got to do your part and then like know that like later along the lines like you'll get that spotlight moment. But like that to me, because like I walked into Borracho with Pac, I had like a small segment with Brick, and I was like, dude, there's so many people that I like look up to, that I ask for advice. And I mean, here I am in the same like battle royale as said guys, where I think they should have like a main event match.
Yeah, because like not because you worked with Brick and with Hit again. It goes back to with Pac with having this experience. But I'll do this too because are you and Hit at the same length of your career?
I
I'm
believe
curious.
so.
Okay, because I'll ask this too, where you do have someone with experience with Brick who's been. I'm surprised it was 5 years, by the way. I'm surprised he has 5 years of experience in the ring, and with Hit, who has a different mindset because it's in Austin,
Mhm.
you're in Houston. How
Yeah.
did those two kind of help you into shaping into that wrestler that you're doing in the ring?
Well, I think the biggest thing with Hit is who's gonna talk S
Okay.
to Hit. But again, like Hit is such a what's the best way to put this? He's such a compromising guy
Okay.
that it's hard to not mesh with him. Same thing with Pac. Once the ideas start flowing and like pieces of the puzzle like start coming together, it makes it that much easier with somebody who like understands and like appreciates that like yes, we maybe he's from Austin, I'm from Houston. There's you know how it is. You travel to other shows. Like the shows in different cities are different. We wrestle differently. We may be on the same card, but like there's a culture change, and
Mm,
it's not a bad thing or anything like that. But like what Austin reacts to is not what Houston is going to react to, and vice
hmm.
versa. Same thing with San Antonio. And so I'm smart enough to like talk to Hit and be like, hey, like what are these guys? What do they like to see? Okay,
Right.
how can I mesh my comfortability with your comfortability and give these people what they want? Or I could just be an egomaniac and be like, all right, this is how I wrestle in Houston. It works in Houston. I'm just
Right.
gonna do it here.
How much of that has made you adapt through different cities and especially working with all of these guys? Like, what was the adaptation like to go to a different city from Houston?
It was low key hard, honestly, because
Okay.
again, I'm still pretty green, only 2, 3 years in. So I just thought like, yeah, I can do this in Houston, I can do this in Austin. That's what I thought.
Right.
And then the biggest like city change was like when we went to Vegas for Mania weekend.
That's a different
I was
state. Are you
Yeah,
kidding
it's a
me?
different state. And we've got a buddy out there, Rainey, who wrestles for FSW and Pride Style.
Mm.
And we were at TWC, me and Hit were we were putting everything together, and we called a Texas match in front of these Vegas people, and they were like,
No.
yeah, they
What
kind
was
of like
that like?
they halfway reacted to it and stuff like that. And then at the very end, Rainey talked to us and he was like, hey man, I should have warned you guys. Like Vegas guys are like, or just East Coast or West Coast guys in general, they like
Yeah.
the like basically like the New Japan style. Like they just want to see like two guys working. They're not like super big on like the
Oh,
character crowd work. They want to
right.
see like a scrap. And I was like, well, Rainey, that would have been
That would have helped.
amazing 50 minutes ago.
But like I was gonna ask that too, like at least like as an observer, like when you were in Vegas and you wanted to see like Pride styles. Like, how much of a difference is it watching it as a viewer than you as a wrestler from Texas?
It was super different, man,
Okay.
because just the way that they called things and the way that they put things together, like my little Texas mind was like, that doesn't make any sense. That's crazy. That's not gonna
Yeah.
work. That's not gonna get over. That's still,
Right.
I'm saying this in my head about like 15-year vets, and I'm like, dude, that's
It's
so
like I know
dumb.
this. I know this.
Yeah, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. And then I would watch it and I'm like, oh wow, I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about. Because like these guys and girls would go out there, have a banger, and the crowd's like interactive the whole time. And like it's super cool because like West Coast wrestlers get the crowd involved with like their bodies. Like they don't
Right.
really have to do a whole lot of talking. And like, when a rest hold was happening and somebody was like, doing the claps and stuff like that, like there was no talking, there was no like anything. And I was like, okay, like this is something I can add to my repertoire. Um, it was super cool to see. And it goes back to like the whole like not being afraid to fail thing, like not being
Yeah.
afraid to make yourself, even if it's in your own mind, make yourself feel stupid. And I'm like, okay, probably should, bite my tongue in my own head, but um, this is this is some pretty good stuff that I need
Yeah.
to be like just watching. And then it's always just super cool, like not knowing anybody and being able to like watch as a fan. Like
Right.
I don't know these people. I don't know what they got going on in their lives at the end of the day. So like I can just appreciate them as professional wrestlers and just being able to like be oohed and awed again and be entertained. That's so cool. One of the main things I love about wrestling.
What is your favorite match that you call that you worked with this year, whether it's in Vegas or here in Texas or wherever, that really got your interest into working with that person?
I think it was the most recent one. It was me versus Epi at Borracho Pro. Because that was a huge test for me. With Austin and the Yard, United 210, there was a lot of people that I was like kind of used to wrestling. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have great matches with the people you have
Yeah.
great chemistry with. But like with Epi, like me and him have shared locker rooms together, but we'd never talked about putting matches together. So like going in there, talking to him and like putting the match together. Obviously, I was scared out of my mind because like again, this is the biggest test at this point of my career. Um, and just having that ease at the very end of it after everything was over. I don't really think we had any hiccups or anything like that. No missed spots, no nothing. And then just all in all, a really good match. It kind of like put in perspective, like I can do hard stuff. Like it
Mm.
doesn't have to be comfortable matches all the time for me.
How much is Epi? Because it's lucha and it's a different
Yeah.
style. Was there a moment of breaking in when you were working that match, or was it something that you had to like really adapt to having a match style like that?
I think not so much because at Lions Pride, there were a lot of lucha guys
Oh, okay,
that
okay.
Houston would bring in during training
Mm-hmm.
to like his big thing was you don't have to learn lucha, but if you do ever run into it, I want you to know how to base. You got to at
Mm-hmm.
least know how to base. And then the same thing with JJ. Whenever Diego runs classes, same mindset. You don't have to learn lucha, but you got to at least know how to base because like just because somebody doesn't do lucha, they still have like Jackpot's a great example. He doesn't do lucha, but like some of his moveset are technically lucha based. Like a
Right.
lot of his like aerial arm drags and stuff like that. So like, and I've always prided myself of being a safe worker for other people.
Mm-hmm.
So like there wasn't more of a there wasn't really a culture shock or adaptability there. It was more along the lines of like it's been the biggest adaptability moment was uh at this point I was working a lot of matches where like me and Pac were calling everything or I was calling everything if it was a singles
Mm-hmm.
match. And we went into this where like Ebby basically called everything. He asked me what like I wanted to hit in there. And so that was like, okay, like this is it was a good like spank on the butt moment where I was like, all right, cool. Like
You
all
had
right.
some spankings for sure.
Yeah. uh, every once in a while you get humbled, and this is just one of those times where you got humbled and it wasn't like one of those embarrassing moments. It was like, all right, like
You
I still
learned
got a
from
lot.
it.
Yeah, exactly. I got a lot to learn, and today I get to learn.
I was thinking about this before we delve into your Cambodian heritage too. You are very, very central. How long did that take to get to where you're at? It's a lot of gyrating. That's an example. Let's say it in the more PG way. It's a lot of gyrating. How long did that really like take hold into what you're doing things as a wrestler?
A wrestler, it took a minute. I've always been like that as a person,
Okay.
just because I grew up with a lot of women in my life, like cousins,
Okay.
sisters, mom, aunt, obviously. Sexuality or like sensuality has never been like a
Yeah.
scary
That's
topic
the
for
better way of
me.
saying that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, yeah. It's never been like too, what's the word? Um,
How could you describe that?
what do you mean?
Like, what would you describe that? Like, if you want to do a long form way, and maybe we can shorten that. Like,
Oh
what
yeah,
would you
yeah.
describe that?
Just kind of like openness, man. Just
Okay,
not being afraid
that's
to be,
yeah.
not being afraid to be you.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of times like when in my youth, because I grew up in a small like little country town where I was
Mm.
like for a long time the only Asian kid. So like all the way up to like junior high, I was like, all right, I gotta bottle it up. I gotta be quiet. And
Hmm.
then in high school, like I realized like I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. I can just be
Right.
whoever I want. And then whenever we got to like the wrestling, like at the very beginning, I wanted to do like this like Ric Flair, Ted DiBiase, but if he was Asian type character, which was kind of working for me, you know. But then I was like, man, there's something missing. Like I'm not me. And so like that's where we added in a couple like hip swivels, a couple, like certain words that I probably can't say on this podcast. The growl that I do.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Forgot about. You know what it is? Expressive expression. So that's what it is.
Expression. Yeah,
It's
big on expression.
it's being expressive. That's because I was
Yeah.
just listening to it, and I'm like, it you have a lot of expression in what you're doing things, and you really didn't like hold back because I did see some matches where you're like, screw that, just like gyrate like out of nowhere. So like you have the ability to be expressive
Yeah.
in your character. So that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's a better, shorter way of putting it.
Yeah, we had a roundabout way of saying
Yeah.
expressive, but the series we're focusing a lot with being an Asian American and being from Cambodia. And you mentioned you grew up in such a small town in Texas. What was that like being different than your peers when you were growing up in that town?
And it was honestly really scary because like
Mm,
we are darker skinned Asians.
right.
So like growing up, a lot of people thought I was Mexican. And like it's
I get
even funny.
Chinese. Are you kidding me?
It's funny, dude, because like there was one year I got put into like an ESL class because I didn't talk when I was little. I was so
Oh,
scared.
okay.
And so they just assumed I spoke Spanish. And then one day they were like, "Hey, why aren't you speaking to anybody?" And I was like, "I don't speak Spanish." And they were like, "What, you speak English?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then they moved me back to like an English speaking class. But like, yeah, man, growing up, it was kind of hard because like I fit into some groups,
Right.
never fully fit into any groups. I had a lot of friends growing up and I had a lot of friends in high school and such, but like I never felt compatible with like a lot of my high school peers. And I don't know if it's, because I dreamed a little too big or if it was because I thought of myself as just like I'm just gonna be a regular person, even though I dream too big. But yeah, that was really tough not having like, cause like all my cousins like grew up in like Houston.
Mm,
So like, there's a lot more Asianness out here. We've got
right.
Bel Air, and Katie's got Chinatown now, like Katie Asian Town. Like there's
Yeah.
there's a deep rooted, not even just Cambodian, just Asian culture here in Houston. And like in our small town, it was me and my mom and dad
Mm,
and my sisters. And so like not having anybody at the same age go through the same things that I'm going through, but
right.
being of the same ethnicity of me was super hard because like we would go to temple, for Cambodian New Year's, and like I would see all these people who know each other, and I'm just like, that would be kind of nice to like have a
Right.
Cambodian friend or something like that. And it was just me, and it also got like kind of hard watching like Disney Channel and stuff like that, Cartoon Network, and nobody looked like me. The closest
Right.
thing at the time for me, because I am a little bit older, I just turned 29. My birthday was yesterday.
Mm.
Um, the closest thing for me was like Jimmy Wang Yang, and it hit so deep
Oh,
for me
yeah.
because he was Asian, but he was a redneck. And like me growing up in a small town, I was like,
It's
bro,
like two things that don't
yeah,
fit, but it's there for some reason, you
yeah. And I was
know?
like, dog, that's me. I'm Asian, but I'm out here with these country folks. Like I got a pair of boots, I got a pair of Wrangler jeans. And then back to like the expression thing, that when I got to like high school and realized that like I could just be whoever I wanted, I just kind of
Mm.
did what I wanted, dressed how I wanted, and like being Asian wasn't a thing for me. And it I kind of lost my like way, so to speak, in high school.
Right.
I didn't want anything to do with being Asian. Was in this mindset of like, I gotta be my own person without my ethnicity. And then I
Right.
get to college and I see people doing their own thing as well. And then I'm doing my own thing. And I like faked being Asian around my parents. Like we would go to temple still and I would,
Hmm.
show up and try to be like the good doting son. But like I never realized what like it truly meant and like how it truly meant up until like here lately, whenever I became a wrestler. Like I'm by no means like famous or anything, but maybe like a year and a half ago I had a Cambodian kid reach out to me, and he was like, hey, like,
Wow.
I'm following your story, and like it's very inspiring that somebody who looks like me can do what they want. Like
Mm.
I don't have to look like Jackie Chan. Like I don't have to be,
In a box, like you want to be
in a
put in a
box.
box. Yeah.
Exactly. I can go out and make my own way and still have what is the word? Still have
Like an
pride
individual. Okay.
pride in like being Cambodian, because for a long time my pride was fake. It was just like I'm
Yeah.
proud because like, my parents are both genocide survivors.
Oh.
And so like a lot of my pride there was fake, and I was like, yeah, I'm prideful of being Cambodian because my parents went through this, until I like really like sat down and understood like, when my dad came here, he was, 7, surviving a genocide. My
Mm.
mom was like 3 or 4. Obviously it was hard for them coming over here, not knowing the language. And so like it really put into perspective, like I may not be where I'm at, but like it was a lot harder coming the way that they came. And so I'm just trying to really put on for anybody and
Mm.
everybody that may even closely resemble me. Because it just, now that there's that one kid, like there's a lot of like just random Cambodians that'll follow me. Um,
Wow.
and then actually a Mania weekend, I met, I didn't really get to talk to her for a little bit. Sue Young, she's I think half Cambodian. I met
Hmm.
Cody Chun. We talked for a little bit, and it was just cool seeing like a man and a woman who were the same ethnicity of me. Both of them, Sue Young was on TV for quite a bit, and then Cody Chun was on AEW as on Dark, a very few a long,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about. He
Yeah.
was on there,
Exactly.
and he was putting on for us, and it was just super cool to like for them to know who I was, because we're in this business where like you kind of have to like do something for people to know what your name is, and for me to, in my opinion, not have done anything yet, and for them to like know at least of me, super cool.
Yeah, because like I was thinking about that too, where wrestling filled that gap for you, to have these connections. And I saw some stories too while I'm preparing the interview, and you have so much of your relatives who are like, happy birthday, Princely, and all that. But for them and pretty much all the fans that interact with you, how much of that connection that you are trying to establish and you see the work being paid off as a wrestler in as a Cambodian American?
I think like Mm,
Because like there were a lot of stories that are like they're seeing how much of your work is being shown. Of course, Texas is the big thing, but to go out to Vegas and seeing these connections that you're making, that must have been a little bit surprising. When you're like, oh
yeah.
shoot, he's like me. Okay, all right, I
Yeah.
understand.
It feels really good to know that, like, at least whatever direction I'm going in a good one, at least. Because again, there's not a lot of guys that like look like us on TV, or look like the kids that are sharing my stories, or
Mm,
the kids that may message me. And it feels really good to be able to be that person. I may never be able to kick the door down or even put a foot in the door, but like I'll get to the door.
mm,
That's the very smallest of goals that I have. I'll at least get to the door.
mm,
But like seeing all of that lets me know that, like, because there's only so much you can do ethnicity wise without like crossing a line for like maybe like an old head or something like that. Because you still want to be
mm,
respectable of the people that came before you. It's like one of the things that I wanted to do. Um, for the fans out there, I know you've seen it. I don't really wear that much. I wear boots and I wear
yep,
trunks. I don't wear
yep.
knee pads or anything else. So like there's not a lot of place for like things to go logo wise. Like I'm coming up with an entrance jacket because again, I want to be respectable. But for the long time, I wanted to put Anchor Watt on my trunks.
Wow.
And before I do anything like that, I would ask my parents, I'd be like, hey, would this be taken, in a disrespectful manner by anybody? And my parents would be like, yeah, a little bit, because like it's in your private area. You may not be
Uh,
coming at it from a disrespectful way, but like you got to realize that somebody may see that, the symbol that is, our symbol of like strength and glory, the symbol that is also, on our flag. Somebody might see that and be like, hey, that's kind of rude for you to put it, on your
mm.
butt, on your hip. And then I was like, what if I put it on my boots? And then, as Asian Americans, like,
Oh right. No, no.
yeah,
Yep.
nothing at the feet.
Yeah. You will be
And I
out
was
the door if that ever happens.
exactly. So I was like, man, like I gotta save up some money. I gotta get a jacket made, or like a robe or something like that. Because like there's a lot of things that I want to do. I want to feed back into like, traditional things, and things that are kind of got forgotten in the genocide. Like obviously I didn't have to go through that. And I'm, so blessed that my parents are strong enough to have gone through
Mhm.
that and have met each other, and then had me. But like I think there's too many people who just are okay with just being that line, and I kind of want to push
Yeah.
it a little bit. Like I want to my knowledge, there are only four active Cambodian wrestlers. Obviously me, Su Young, Cody Chun, and DK Vandu, to my
Mm.
knowledge.
Right.
There may be more, I just don't know. And I think all four of us do a very good job of like bringing that to light, just like, hey, there are Cambodians out here and we can do more than just make donuts. But
That
I think Cody and DK do a really good job of it. They both have like DK has like, Cambodian script on his trunks, and then Cody had I think the Cambodian flag on his pants, his tights, and then he had Angkor Wat on his. So it's just really cool to like know that I'm not doing it by myself.
you sense like the camaraderie too, because like having and it's like you mentioned like four people, including yourself, having, of Cambodian ethnicity, which I'm going to ask you because oftentimes, yeah, it is expression. Do you ever sense that there is that boundary? Like, okay, I got to be careful. And you mentioned it prior, like, if I do get that jacket, okay, when is that line going to be? When I'm
Yeah,
expressive, but being really mindful, because you never know who's going to watch a wrestling show and they come
exactly.
to you. It's
Yeah.
like, what are you doing?
I think, as long as I like, I've got good mentors on my side, and then
Mm,
I've got my parents, and then like I like to do this thing that I actually learned from Houston Carson, my trainer at Lions Pride.
right.
Um, his wife was not a wrestling fan, so every once in a while he would ask her like, "Hey, would this, as a non-wrestling fan, does this like make any kind of sense?" And
Right.
so like that's what I would do with like, my parents are both wrestling fans. So I would ask like my cousins and like my aunts and uncles who don't watch wrestling at all and be like, hey, like, would this be crossing a boundary? Would this be, you know,
Right.
crossing some kind of line? How would this make you feel if you didn't know who I was and I was playing this like Cambodian playboy character and I was just doing this because like for example, like even if I did get like the Angkor Wat jacket and it was, a jacket, nobody can really say anything about that. But like I was doing, you know, degradable, unforgiving things like in the ring. Like if I did more
Oh,
than shake,
okay.
yeah, if I did more than
Yeah.
like shake my hips, like if I like, again, it's only trunks. So like if I just
Yeah.
pulled the trunks down, that's obviously like crossing a line, but like that would, be piggyback and be like, oh, people would see the Angkor Wat and be like, oh, like this guy is being super disrespectful to Cambodians now.
Yeah. There's tact. Like I think the term I'm kind of looking for is tact. Because like oftentimes like wrestlers do sense like, okay, I'm pushing something. And like having
Yeah.
that tact to what you're doing is kind of like, okay, all right, what do we need to do to push the line but not break it? Because like
Yeah.
oftentimes you never, like I mentioned, you never know who's gonna be watching.
Hmm.
And if it is someone's like, what the hell are you wearing?
Yeah, Rock does a really good job of like kind of stopping because every once in a while I'll go overboard with like what I say to people and like words, and Pac's like, all right, come back here, come back here.
Okay.
Um,
He's
so
putting you
like
straight.
whatever, yeah, he put me straight.
To whoever, I mean, whoever the audience is who is Cambodian American or even Asian American, what do you want to say as a wrestler? Like, what do you want to really share to the audiences here on this podcast? What would you like to say about that?
I would say if you're at a place where you're being put in a box and you're being stereotyped or you're being seen as less than, do whatever you can to be the best um stereotype and get out of there because somebody like Kiefer and JJ are going to see you as more than a stereotype, as more than the foreign heel, and they're going to give you more. There's somebody
Mm-hmm.
out there who is going to allow you to be more than just the, you know, slur, whatever word you want to think about whenever, you go out in that curtain. Obviously there's crowds that are going to be like that, and I'm sorry that you have to go through that.
Mm,
But there are people in the back and there are people in the crowd that do see us the same way they see other ethnicities and races. They see us as
right.
superheroes. So don't stop just because it feels like you are not a superhero because you are somebody's superhero and you just don't know it yet.
Was Jimmy Wang Yang like that superhero for you, or were there any other people that you looked up to, whether it's as a fan or as a wrestler? Who were those superheroes to you?
Think Jimmy Wang Yang did for a long time, and then it opened me up to like all the other Asian wrestlers that were brought in because that was during like the PG era. And then I would
What
go
that was,
back and
yeah.
watch like Ruthless Aggression. I would see Kai and Tai and stuff like that. So like Funaki, which is crazy because like I'm friends with like his son now. And just seeing them be able to come out and you know I think that's one of the reasons why I say, like, if you're a stereotype, be the best stereotype. Because for a little bit, Funaki was a stereotype, and
Mm-hmm.
he could have easily just been like, nah, F this, I'm gonna go back to Japan. He did what he needed to do, and they gave him more. And I thought that was so cool to be able to like see that. Me being, an American Asian, obviously, like if I ever make it there, I'll get a little more. And then seeing guys like, who is it, Jinder Mahal
Mm-hmm.
become world champion, somebody who was, not a we in the Asian community call fancy Asian or your East
Yep.
Asian, to see a Southern Asian or a Southeast Asian be
Right.
the guy on top, forever how long it was, it doesn't matter. But that was so cool to see a dark-skinned Asian.
Right.
Um, for me, that really hit me hard. And then, I started like delving into like Japanese wrestling and just seeing what they're doing over there. My favorite guy right now is like Konosuke. I love
Mm-hmm.
that guy.
Takeshita, and
Yeah,
it hits hard. Like
yeah.
it's
It's
not
above
even a
Shimbashi.
yeah, it's like a slap, but it's like a boom. That's how
Yeah.
hard they hit, and it's like to have like in like Takeshita was the international champion, and to have that belt on his waist in AEW shows that it's not just like what the ethnicity is, it's what they're doing things in the ring to be
Mhm.
at that level.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but no, this is great. And I have nothing left to give. Thank you so much for starting off this series. And
Thank you for having me.
There'll be more down the line within the month of May. But for you, you have the floor, and where can we find you?
You can find me over at Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Instagram and Twitter are going to be Princely Pro. That's also going to be my TikTok. I post very funny videos, so go follow your boy there. And then Facebook, you'll just find me at Princely. Um, and then you can also find me at New Texas, Borracho Pro, United 210. Every once in a while, I'll make a stop at Lions Pride, Texas. Um, so yeah, come follow your boy, follow me on this journey, and that's that's the way the cookie
I was
crumbles.
anticipating, like, what is happening? But for those who are watching or listening here on YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, thank you so much for tuning in. We will have another episode next week. But for now, we're on to the next one.